Hey everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George-affleck.
And it's time for...
No parking for you! UnSpun.
You just didn't want to waste any time.
We're going to get to the parking issues of Vancouver, which I know you're hot about. You're on that.
Oh, I'm angry. And I listened to last week's podcast again because McLean reposted it on Twitter today. And I was like, oh, what's this? And I hear myself just like ranting at you. I was so mad last week. I'm like, I'm going to calm down and I'm going to not cut off George. Let's see if I can do that. We'll get to parking in a second, but let's start with what really is dominating every headline and has for quite some time. I mean, it's the most sought after item on the planet, regardless of whether it's Moderna or Pfizer BioNTech. It is vaccine. And stockpiles and who has how much and when will this all be over?
And where do we place in the world and how do we this? And
so can you help me with the spin on this? Because there was a time where we were being touted as hoarders.
Yes. Well, apparently we still are if you look at the numbers that we've procured for the future, whenever that future might be, the future uncertain. I mean, it's brutal. And I think and now, we're all playing, who's got the biggest in every country. There's a report that came from Australia saying we're 69th or 61st worst country or best country, depending on how you manage it for where we are with COVID. Then I saw a report today saying we're going to be 6 months behind everybody else, or Europe and the United States in getting the vaccine to our people. It's, we're already kind of like, ugh, this is so depressing. And now you're just killing us with this data. Like,
I was watching the First Minister's gatherings, as we're so used to consuming every day. Like, I don't know what we're going to do when we don't have these updates every day. We'll actually have lives back where we'll go out and hang with our friends and have brunch.
Like America without Trump. What will we do?
Right. Oh my gosh. But here we are, having these conversations, and I can't help but feel like I have no control over this. I'm at the mercy of this, that we're going to have our officials sit there and answer the same question 9,000 times. Like, I feel like I should know his full title, and I don't, but the military officer who is in charge of our vaccine rollout. You may know his name. I don't off the top of my head. I should. I knew it 2 hours ago because I was feeling for him in such a bad way. He literally was asked the same question 20 times in a row. This just in. He's not a politician. He is a military man who is trying to get vaccine.
Here's the facts.
Here's what we've got, and here's where it's going. And he got to the point where they're like,
I'm not going to conjecture. I'm not going to make stuff up here. I have nothing to lose besides my job. And he's
unspun. He's unspun. But here we are, and George, and it brings up a lot of questions. And I don't know from a political standpoint, like, why are we beholden to procuring vaccine from non-domestic factories? Like, it's not like this was new. I mean, Bill Gates has been investing in vaccine production facilities since the start of COVID-19 in the United States.
Well, we're a small country, first of all, so the cost to build out a public facility is very expensive. There is actually a public facility being built at the CDC in Quebec, and it's just not finished. They were hoping, I believe, to have it finished quite a while ago, but unfortunately it hit some unknown roadblocks, and we don't have the production facility, the manufacturing facility completed. And that might be an argument of, and I'm very supportive of public-private partnerships. We've talked about this in the past, and that's what the United States have done. Most countries do these private-public partnerships. So you say to the private sector, you go do this and we'll procure it and we'll give you some funding to build this facility or whatever it might be. We didn't do that in Canada. We didn't go to any one of the major companies that manufactures anywhere in the world and say, hey, why don't you build a facility in Canada? We could have said this in February last year, in March. We'll give you $1 billion or whatever. So you can start churning this stuff out on day one when it's ready to go, whatever the vaccine is, because it's agnostic. It doesn't matter. I mean, most of these, whatever works, you manufacture it. And so we didn't do that. And not most countries don't have these facilities. And you look at India has massive amounts of production abilities. Obviously, Europe Belgium, for some reason, has a massive.
And that's what I was going to say. When you said we're a small country, I'm like, Belgium's not a big country. But that's just...
Well, it's where the EU is based. So,
right.
It's their head office. So that could be why. But, it's just because maybe there was a market that grew in there. You look at cities, you look at any city has a dominance of one sector, oil and gas, and
sure.
Calgary, or if it just happens to be your city's specialty, then you benefit from that on this specific case. And Canada just didn't have it. And so it's too late now. It really...
for this pandemic, because we're going to be going through this, and we might need to do this level of vaccination regularly. We don't know how long these vaccines give immunity for. I mean, we could find ourselves perpetually in need of boosters and upgrades. I know, but it's reality, right? Like, that's taking the spin out of it. That's the science that we don't know the answer to. Hopefully that's not the case. And so far the numbers have been unbelievably good in terms of where we're at with vaccine. I mean, as I mentioned here before, I'm team Pfizer. I'm 1 dose in. I had no side effects whatsoever. And it seems like, as we hear from our provincial health officer, Dr. Henry, that, the reactions are extremely rare, lesser so than what we would see even with flu vaccines and others, pneumonia or Shingrix. I mean, I had a big reaction to the shingles vaccine. I'm fine, but I got a big rash out of the deal. But this is what we're doing when it comes to the safety and the security. And one of the headlines that I know you were referencing there, George, with regard to, that Canada might be 6 months behind, that we're not the first world country we think we are when it comes to being able to roll this out, access the vaccine first and foremost, and then roll it out. We're a big country, and there's a lot of ground to cover with a very precious cargo, if you will, to get to communities that maybe aren't even interested in getting vaccinated.
Yeah, well, there's that. That's kind of one of the things they often say. I think the line is that everybody who wants a vaccine will have a vaccine by September. And I think it's a little like, it's not like Christmas, but it's the anticipation of Christmas with my kids, and when is Christmas coming? I want Christmas. And then Christmas comes and it's over and you're like, oh man. But I'm not saying that vaccine is like that, but it's like, we're just anxious. We just want to get there. And it feels like every day is a lifetime because it's not Christmas Day yet. We haven't got our vaccine in our arms, all of us. You're lucky. A lot of seniors. Only one. Amanda's dad's getting his today in England. So she's pretty excited about that.
I can tell you I'm more excited about my dad being 2-dosed than I am about me having 1.
Yeah.
Like I just feel, and I think we can all as a community, as a collective, while we're all talking about the whens and hows and people are really frustrated. We're all frustrated. We're all tired. We're all over it, but we're not so over it that we're going to hop on our private jet and go to the Yukon and pretend to be hotel workers. I want that. I want that couple. This is my unspun. I want that couple to be punished to the extreme of the rules around quarantining. $750,000 fine each and up to 6 months in jail. I would like, if there were ever an example of an absolute, I want to swear.
That's just, I can't even talk about that. It's just like unbelievable. But I think we have to be patient. You hear, and it's frustrating. I know. And I'm thinking, I want to go on a vacation in the fall or whatever. We want to go to England at Christmas. Yeah. Will we be able to? Because if we're not vaccinated, we won't be able to go. And, but you hear from the experts on a regular basis that it's just because there's others vaccines that haven't been approved yet. Once all of those are approved, suddenly there's just going to be an onslaught of lots of vaccine. And it becomes, in the case of, how you administer it becomes more of it's going to be, we got so much vaccine and now we have to actually manage the process. And so, you look at the states where they have lots of the vaccine, but you see people, they're lining up for hours and hours in their cars in these places to get their vaccine because there was no real strategy to get their vaccine out, and it's kind of chaotic. But they're vaccinating 1 million a day now in the States, and they want to get to 1.5 million a day. So but it's not being organized in a good way, in a national way, and I think that's what Biden's talking about. But here we're certainly, by not having so much vaccine, it gives us time to really plan. If we get lots and lots of vaccine and then they start screwing up and not getting the vaccine to people because they're disorganized, then you're in real big trouble. I would say one thing that this is causing, though, it must be bad for Trudeau's thought of having an early election at this point. It can't be helping his polling.
No.
Even if you could argue over and over again, look, it's coming. Eventually, the people start going, I don't think we trust you anymore. So
you could see Aaron O'Toole very busy trying to just paint it all onto the current federal government. I was listening to Chrystia Freeland this morning, the Deputy Prime Minister and Federal Finance Minister, reacting to the leader of the opposition, official opposition, and in those challenges about the vaccine. And you know how Chrystia Freeland talks. She talks like this because she knows what she's talking about, and she would prefer you stop asking the same question over and over, because she was reiterating there will be 10 doses of the vaccine for every Canadian by the end of September. 10. So going back to how we started this conversation about vaccination, we are hoarding.
From Jerry Maguire. Show me the money.
I know, right?
Show me the money, Jerry. Show me the money. I mean, it's just show me. Don't keep telling me it's coming. Yeah. I don't believe you. I want to see it.
The retooling, though, has been what caught everybody off guard. And the argument on one side is like, well, why Canada? Why wasn't this pain spread throughout the delivery system? There lies the story that I really want the answer to. Why was it just the blip for us on a grander, while others are ramping up? And the answer from Pfizer BioNTech is, we're retooling so we can deliver even more faster later. It's just that, and there's the spin that makes me just nuts. So let's take our spin. Let's take our spin and from the global community and the federal community and bring it back here to BC, because there was some significant spin that we need to call out on the provincial government. And it is a subject that, we just talked about, close to both of our lives, and certainly long-term care homes, and what we're learning about the failures in the system. That report, more than a little bit damning and quite buried.
Well, that's the problem. Not only is it damning, and it's a double whammy for the long-term care facilities, because they've been denying them the fast testing program, the quick
rapid tests,
rapid test things. And then they find out that we get a report that was held back for whatever magical reason that came up 2 days before. It was provided. It could have been released 2 days before the last election provincially, which would have been had a significant impact, I believe, on the position of certainly the BC Liberals and the position in the NDP being honest about anything. And now they have a big majority. They got 4 years up to 5, because they can do that. As they proved last time, they can call an election anytime they want, even though there is a set date. That this report, which was basically damning and saying that they were prioritizing unions over private sector facilities, that kind of stuff. It was just brutal, and the administration, the process, and the whole thing was just, it was bad. And they held it back. They hid it. They buried it. And now they've got
it. And then softballed it. And I have great respect for Adrian Dix. I have had many dealings with him. He's made himself available to me when I've asked questions of him. And I think it has been very forthcoming. This one feels different. Maybe it's because I've got skin in the game and my dad and fighting for some sort of subsidized space for my father, who has been in the system long enough to very much warrant it. And for whatever reason, we can't access it. So we've got private and public and for profit and nonprofit. And where's the care and how's the care? And when you're in it, you're going to pay as much as you can for as much care as you can possibly afford for your family member. And if you feel preyed upon. You feel preyed upon. And that is not disrespecting BC care providers, nor is it disrespecting long-term care workers. I don't know what I'd do without them. I honestly would be completely and utterly lost without the support that is in place. But if our family couldn't afford it, George, where would we be? Right? Like, I think about the different ship, right? They talk about same storm, different ships. Some people are in a leaky rowboat and I'm rolling around in a yacht here. There needs to be an even playing field when it comes to long-term care home access for human beings. There needs to be a fix to that. So while I am totally about this report, when it came out, how political it was, how downplayed it was, the spin that's been associated with it, I want the outcome to be rapid, meaningful, and immediate change.
Sure.
I
Well,
do.
the good news is, and I know you're a Dr. Bonnie fan, and
I am.
there is a consistency, which you bring up in your article, which we can get to later. But I mean, I think it's relevant at this
We can
point
talk about it right here if you want.
yeah, I mean, because I think it's at least. She was kind of, with her power, because she has a lot of power, has, to a certain degree, tried to be apolitical. Although she's obvious, because she works for the government, she's been pulled into the politics as an impact. But you can touch on your column, and then we could talk a bit about that.
Okay, I'm happy to. I'm happy to. My column was actually born out of a bit of a back and forth, I would say, respectful disagreement with our editor-in-chief at the Orca, McLean Kay, who, when he hired me, before the Orca was even a thing, had yet to be launched, he offered me a job, and I said, well, I'll only take the job if there's no agenda. Like, you can't tell me what to write about, what I think, what I do. I get my own perspective, full stop.
Contrary to certain opinions on the internet.
Don't even get me started. I was very disappointed in that. Anyway, proof to the fact that perspective is horrifyingly incorrect. McLean and I had a back and forth on Twitter about the messaging recently with Dr. Henry asking us to do more, right? And as somebody who has been doing absolutely everything I can't do more. But I didn't take it like, what? Now you're asking me to do more? In my mind, I heard, you people who are still driving to Whistler
Yes.
for your weekends because you got a house up there and you think it doesn't really apply to you because you and your kids really want to go skiing every weekend. You know what? You need to do more. That's what I heard. And McLean heard, he and his little family living in their condo with no outside space and having to, quarantine or whatever throughout this. And he's super frustrated. And he heard, McLean, you need to do more.
Yeah.
And it was, so I wanted to write about how I felt that, and you know this to be true in your other life, George, at Curve Communications. I learned in radio very early on, by the time when I'm as the host, absolutely sick of the commercial or the promo or the message or the jingle. When I can't even stand to hear it one more time, the listener's hearing it for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. There's and you tweeted this out, and I responded to your tweet about this. From a marketing point of view, consistency in messaging, focusing on who haven't you sold to. Really, I mean, you have your customers, and that's great. But if there's more customers to be had, how do we get those customers? That's kind of a marketing thing. How do I sell more to more people? You can't sell to everybody. It's impossible. You can't. It's not possible. So I think what Dr. Bonnie's trying to do is she's sticking to her message, sticking to her plan, saying the same things, or even her line that she ends on every day is all about branding. And it's about, absolutely, you're right. And I think McLean, I know it's frustrating, and I'm living in a condo with kids. I get it. But I also look at my life. We're not going out. We're not traveling. We're not doing anything. We have our small bubble. Even our neighbors, we don't go in their houses. We see each other outside within 6 feet of each other and yell at each other and cheers with wine. We're living the life of as close to the rules as you possibly can get. And yet we see people who are not. And so those are the people she's selling to. Those are the people that have not, the message has not gone in. The marketing, the medium in the message and the
they've tuned it out. They want to tune it out. You can't be a loopholer if you're in the know. But the thing is, and here's the part that the only thing that I didn't get to in my column, but is the piece of this that I find difficult, is through this, and we've talked about being a COVID-idiot or a COVID cop or a loopholer. We got names for everybody now. I don't want to be a COVID cop. I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight the fight that it would be for me to tell the people, and really good friends of mine and family members even, who break these rules by doing these trips within the province that put us all at risk. They are the movers of the virus in a way that if we all just stayed put, it could slow to a new low. Because where we're plateaued, that's the message, right?
Yeah, but you know what? It can even be a person in a lineup. I had a guy, I was at the lineup for coffee yesterday, and there were 6 people in. That was the rule. It was right on the door. There were 6 people inside. So I was the first person in line waiting for this person to come out so I could go in. This dude, and I think he was one of the, food delivery companies. He just kind of swings by, and I have my coffee. I can see it sitting in there inside because I've pre-ordered on my app. But hey, 6 people's a rule. He just passes right by me. Hey,
Yeah.
get behind me. That's the rule. And 6 feet behind me, please. And he's like, no, but I'm just going to pick up. I said, I'm going to pick up too. But there's 6 people in there. That's the rule. It's written right there. Oh yeah, but I'm in a rush. I mean,
Same. Oh, I hear you, buddy. I hear you.
Get behind. Do the rule. Follow the rule. I know it's tough, but guess what? It's 1 minute of your life.
We just need to get on the same team, and that's my read the column at the Orca.ca. It's there right now, and basically the line that I feel is most impactful and on my reason is we're at that point in this marathon where we need to be that runner that does have something left in the tank, and we slow down to help the person who is struggling with the cramped legs and stumbling to get across the finish line. This is where we need to show what we're made of. So check out that column. I want to get to showing what I'm made of when it comes to municipal politics, telling me that I'm going to have to pay more to park my car on the street in front of my... Ooh, I am so mad about this parking thing, George. I have to get this in.
No free parking for you.
Free?
Yes.
Free? It's not free.
I know.
Have you seen my property tax?
So this is the thing that obviously I'm familiar with politics in cities, but here's what bugs me. This is a tax grab. You're right. And you've said this. This is $45 they want to charge per person for parking anywhere in the city per year. Equals about $18 million in revenue for the city. Needed revenue, sure. But what bugs me is, and then there's a whole philosophy that they're trying to sell it as a green thing, which of course,
I have an electric vehicle. Do I still have to pay it? I have an electric vehicle. Do I still have to pay it? I want to know.
They want people out of their cars, of whatever car. They don't want people in cars in our city. They don't want you driving around at all. That's a philosophy. The car, here's the hierarchy of getting around in the city. Walking, biking, transit. And the car is like, way down. It's the last on the list. Doesn't matter what kind of car. It's like no cars. We don't want cars in the city. But that's besides the point, because I think we know that the city has a goal of not having cars in the city. What bugs me about this is it's once again a double dip. It's a pay-as-you-go thing, which I like pay-as-you-go. I always argued at council that pay-as-you-go is great because it's user pay. And the money might go specifically to we're going to raise this money and it's paying for this, paying for water, paying for sewage, paying for this. What drove me crazy was there was never, if I'm doing pay-as-you-go and you're going to make, in this case, $18 million for parking, that represents about 3% in property tax. Then I want to see a 3% reduction in my property tax.
Yeah. Oh, yes, please.
I want to see that $45 is going to the side. I want to see it transparently. $18 million is going to sidewalks and bike lanes and whatever, street lights and crosswalks.
Fixing the sewers.
Fixing potholes. Yeah.
Not to pet
what
projects.
I don't believe, they say it will. I don't believe them. And there's no transparency in City of Vancouver budgeting. I don't believe them for a word. This is a tax grab, 100%, $18 million, 3% taxes. They need the cash because they're running this government so badly that they need the money because they're, as the mayor said, we're almost bankrupt. So this is a cash grab. It's all it is. Call it what it is. Stop bullshitting. And it's a cash grab.
Thank you. I wanted to
how many cups of coffee is that, by the way? Oh, it's only
many
it's only 45 cups of coffee. Come on, it's only 45.
How many cups of coffee since we started this podcast, George? 500? How many cups of coffee?
Thousands of coffee.
Thousands of cups. But the transparency
what's $200 million? I don't know.
Right? Well, we keep coming back to the transparency piece in this budget. And I agree with you. If they want me to pay $45 a year to park in the spot that I already have to maintain, I have to water the grass. I have to water the tree that they planted that I didn't ask for. I have to shovel it if there's snow. I have to keep it... I have to cut back the garden so that, people can, but there's a huge crack in the sidewalk that I've complained about for 10 years that they haven't fixed, that I watch people with disabilities stumble across. So there's that. But if you're going to take my $45 to pay for what I've already paid for, I want it to come off my taxes. And then I want you to prove where that money is going. I want all of those things. So I know that they're not doing that because nobody's really holding them to account to do so at this point. So I am now taking names in a way that I never have before in municipal politics. No, I am. And it's because the
prisoners.
I'm just like, okay, who's in the red column on that one? Who's in the no column when it comes to road pricing? Who voted against it?
Well, I think there might be more of you for the first time, because generally between elections, I would say about 5% of the people are paying attention to what's going on at City Hall. But
I'll help.
do that. I will say that this will pass. It's going to pass.
It is.
Based on the voting record of
It
this,
sucks.
based on the voting record of this council, the majority will be supportive of this green initiative.
My car's green.
And
if
they
I have
also
an
love
OK,
taxes.
if I have an OK sticker that I can use in the HOV lane, that should be enough of a permit on a city street. How about that? Before we go, and I got to fit this in because last week I wanted to talk to you about it because we're talking about municipal politics. What is happening with regard to the NPA? Your former party in municipal government has had a huge changeover at the board level, and there's more. I'm so confused. There's a story in the Tyee that's being attacked now by another publication that's being attacked by other people. And there's just so much crossfire, which tells me there's something to this. What is happening, George? Unspin it.
Well, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you have the elected who are, I think, quite moderate. They're quite a moderate group for the most part, all of them in park board, school board, and council. Yet you have a board of directors for a nonprofit organization, the NPA, which generally, I never had any interaction of any form where they would say, you've got to vote this way, or the board never in the past when I was there would make announcements of things. They just didn't. They're not meant to be political. The politicians are meant to be political, but this board clearly is politicizing its roles, and the people who are on there are now being perceived or called out as certainly very far right of center, and it's beyond that. Even that they doubled down this week where they sent out a press release denouncing all media and saying that the media were incorrect, and it was just like,
so we're fake news now. Is this are we there?
I don't. It's like I'm not involved, so I don't really know. But I know the caucus.
No, but the messaging, you do understand that.
It's that Trumponian kind of, attack on the media are out to get us kind of. It doesn't fly. It's never true. The only reason they're doing it is because you're like that. It makes you, if you're paranoid, media becomes suspicious. Why wouldn't they? Aren't we all suspicious?
Only when you have something to hide do you hate the media, because the media. But generally speaking, in Canada, we are held to account. We're not allowed to just randomly say stuff. There's a council.
I would say that I think the caucus needs to take a stronger. The people who are elected have been silent, and I think that's hurting them. And I think they need to make a decision about where they stand on this board. If this board is in fact the way that it's being portrayed by the media, then these elected people, representatives for the city of Vancouver, for us, all of us, need to be clear on where they stand on the issues that are being reported about members of the board that they represent. And we know that Rebecca Bly, who was NPA, stepped down and left the party because of some specific board members. Right. She made a stand. I think the rest of the board the rest of the council and park board and school board need to make a statement of some form and be clear about what they're.
Can they rebrand? Because
I think that's probably something they're dealing with.
Okay, good. So here's me trying to unspin it. I know I'm pushing you into a corner a little bit here, George, but I can because you're my buddy. So, and this is the very end of the podcast, so no one's listening. It's just you and I. The NPA brand, for the large part of the populace, represents moderate, conservative, center-right leaning, right?
Yeah.
Overall brand in the last municipal election, you would say it's a centrist party that leans fiscally conservative. They're the words I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And now, as it is, not the people who are elected, but the people who are organizing the next generation of the NPA are further to the right in ways that is not currently represented by the NPA party in office.
That's what's being reported by the media, and the board has a problem with that. Does the elected for the NPA agree or disagree with what's being reported? They need to be clear about that.
Yes.
The brand itself will still garner, no matter what happens, and this is what's concerning, and I think people should be concerned about this, will still garner 20 to 30,000 votes. It's a brand. It's like we were talking earlier, branding. I mean, I understand branding. No matter what you do, you're going to get about 20 to 30,000 votes because people just aren't paying attention. And the NPA, I always vote the NPA. I'm going to vote NPA. And so that should be worrying because we don't know what process this board will choose on who their candidates will be in the next election. And they, as a board, have the power to choose the process for the candidates. Now, there might be an AGM before the next election, which could provide more different viewpoints and more different people and more people onto that board that represent the city as a whole. I don't know. But certainly people have to understand and the counts and the elected of MPA need to be clear on their opinion of whether or not on the board's behavior, which I believe is way beyond the pale of what its role is, and they should not be politicizing themselves. Their job is to support the elected in any way they can, whether it's door knocking or whatever, not to be, if you want to be a politician, run for office. And that's another concern, is that there are these people on this board they have goals of running for office,
agendas,
and they're using this as a stepping stone, and that's not unusual.
No.
But you don't do it so obviously, potentially, and so politically, and so destructively, I think, to a certain degree, that they're doing it. With that press release yesterday that they sent out, I don't understand what kind of
either.
What they are doing, what they're trying to do there.
What they are doing, whether they tried to or not, is put them right in our crosshairs here at UnSpun, because we are going to continue to follow along and give voice to what we're seeing, with no agenda other than to be completely and utterly clear and inform the electorate. Because I think that is so key moving toward the next municipal election in Vancouver, because it is going to be one of the most complex and impactful ones in recent memory, in my opinion.
If you want to learn about zoning in the city, go to my latest post at Vancouver is Awesome and learn all about zoning.
No, you read my column at the Orca.ca. Follow us on
Vancouver
Twitter.
is Awesome.
George, you trying to get us fired at George?
and of course
underscore Affleck. The journalist formerly known as George underscore Affleck. No, we love you. I'm at Jody Vance, Jody with a Y, on Twitter. And of course, you can read the column at the Orca.ca. Sign up for the Fin. It is the best way to stay informed Monday to Friday. It's so cool. That's all the time we got, George. Say good night.
Good night.